Hail Dicelings, and ready your initiative. Because today we return with War on the Plains, Episode 4. I'm your host, Chris from Drop Dice. These are your players that you've grown accustomed to seeing for the rest of the series. We'll do introductions towards the middle. I think the best thing for us to do is to jump right into where we left off, because it was a pretty big thing that happened. Let's quickly touch that real quick. Someone who we can't quite trace the rumor back to started a rumor that Takeo's father maybe tried to murder him, which is entirely true that we know as viewers, but it is not known by the rest of the Empire. So what I think is going to start is we had just finished up with a round of the Emperor's favor, or Emperor's Winter Games, to compete for his favor. Though the round that just finished was Kamari, and this rumor started circulating. Then, during a brief moment with father and son talking, that's when they heard it. And what we're going to start with is Akodo Dono has taken his katana in his left hand, holding it by the saya, and he is now infuriated, and he starts screaming out, "Who dare spread rumors about me and my family? These are nothing but lies. Come forth. If you think that there's any truth to this matter, challenge me." The room is quiet. Luckily for you and your father, the Emperor has retired to a different room, so his outburst will not be notated by the Emperor directly, but chances are it will be heard in no time. About 30 seconds goes by, and Akodo Dono challenges again, screaming that whoever was brazen enough to make this lie should step forward and face him like a man. Akodo Dono starts to kind of calm and find himself feeling like he's the victor, because in Rokugan, if a rumor goes out about you that would be dishonorable and you challenge someone but nobody steps forward, then obviously they were lying. It's only once your father kind of starts to feel like he's won this battle, someone steps forward. Ikoma Senzo is the person who steps forward. I confess, I know of this plot. Akodo Dono wheels around and looks at him and starts screaming. "So I suppose you're the one that spread this lie, this rumor?" Senzo shakes his head no. I am not the one that started the rumor, but I cannot hide my own guilt and my family's guilt in this matter any longer. I have crimes to confess too. And then you hear from the back of the crowd, people kind of getting pushed and shoved out of the way. A large man that you guys have learned is Moto Kaiketsu, a rival to your father, Akodo Dono. "I stand witness to these crimes. He silenced one of my family members, a political charge to his family to hide his crimes. If you're looking to challenge someone, I'm the one that started the rumor." If you guys want to interject at any point, you can. I'm just reading off of like my pre-written stuff here, because this is what the NPCs are going to do unless you guys do something about it.
Itagawa is just standing in disbelief that this is happening, and I think he's probably taking this moment to step away from Tonbo himself. And although I wouldn't say he's thankful for this situation coming, he looks around now and realizes that no one's paying attention to him in the embrace that he just had. So although he is like thankful for that, he's looking at Takeo in nervousness and seeing how he's reacting to the situation.
Takeo's utterly baffled. And I think that's what covers up the fact that he knew about this, is because he's surprised that somebody else knew, not necessarily that this is what happened. So, I mean, he's shocked. He's like looking around. He's looking at his father, and he's looking at Senzo, and I mean, like he doesn't know what to say. Like he's just like looking at everybody, like person to person, and then his eyes fall on I think his eyes would fall on Moto Kaiketsu, and he'd look back at Hikaru, at his father, and see what he has to say. He just looks utterly confused.
Yeah, I think Ikoma Hideki, as he's being known right now, would be eagerly transcribing the events, being the official historian here, and so great a circumstance to record.
And the only one to know that, and the only one who knows for certain that Moto is lying.
Yes. So he would be eagerly taking notes, writing down everything that he possibly can of what's happening and what's to come. All the while happy to blend in with the crowd and have somebody else step forward to take charge for his own cause.
The two daimyos stare down each other. Moto has been wearing his war gear this entire time in the castle, so he's wearing full plate armor in here. He has a tetsubo that he has drug with him from event to event, which is quite surprising considering how well he did inside the Kamari match, actually wearing all of this gear. And it seems like they are going to skip proceedings and immediately go into a duel when all of a sudden the doors open and you can see the Emperor come in. Hanate the 38th surveys the room momentarily, and the two men immediately turn and bow, as is proper of their station, and you can hear the folding of the entire room as everyone in the room bows to the Emperor, awaiting for his next words. Do any of you not bow to the Emperor? Because it's really the only thing that's important. Okay, I'll take it as you all bow. The Emperor kind of clears his throat and speaks very softly. He's kind of a more soft-spoken man. This is really the first time that you've heard too much from him directly. Usually the Emerald Champion acts as his mouthpiece. It has come to my understanding that two daimyos under my control have come to conflict, and it must be resolved with blood. You can see that both Akodo and Moto raise their head just slightly to kind of look to each other and the Emperor. I will allow this. But for me not to investigate the matter further, Akodo Hikaru must disprove both witnesses. Senzo tightens, and he's close enough that Takeo, you can notice it, and so can our local subtle observer. All of the muscles on his back kind of clench because Senzo wasn't expecting to have to duel to prove that he knows what he knows. Senzo was expecting that there would be a second witness, that things would go along, and there'd be legal proceedings, but the Emperor has kind of overturned that and given Akodo a chance to clear his name via duel. Takeo, Senzo was your dueling instructor. He was also your brother's dueling instructor who made it into the Sword Saint School. Knowing the two men, Senzo and your father, Senzo is the superior duelist. The Emperor speaks again. Moto Kaiketsu, since you are the most forward of my servants in this matter, you will duel Akodo Hikaru first. Ikoma Senso, if Hikaru lives, then you will duel. However, your duel will be till first blood, and Hikaru will be given time to heal. The fight between Moto and Akodo, however, is a challenge to the death. per Akodo's own request. The whole room is silent. And then we get a jump cut. The scene opens with both men in white ceremonial robes. They're being checked to make sure that they're not hiding anything by their seconds. Takeo, you've been asked by your father to serve as his second. Would you accept the responsibility?
So what exactly does that mean?
It means that you will check him to make sure that he is not cheating. He's not bringing poisons into the duel, that sort of thing. It also means that if he gets a critical strike that would cause him to have a slow, agonizing death, if he admits defeat, you can go and execute him, which is to chop his head off.
Oh, but I'm not included as a guilty party if he loses, right?
No, you are not dueling on his behalf. If you were dueling on his behalf, it would be something entirely different.
Okay.
Which is confusing because both terms are called seconds.
Yeah. I mean, I think that it would be expected of a good son to do this then.
Normally he would ask his Karo, who is Senzo, but he feels betrayed by Senzo at the moment.
Well, I mean, that makes total sense. I can understand that. Ooh. Yeah. I'd be his second.
Okay. When you go to check your father, you don't need to roll. It's a very easy thing to tell if someone is trying to hide like poisons on them inside ceremonial robes. Like you would find them by giving them a pat down.
Yeah.
You check his sword, and part of your job is to also make sure that his sword is functional before the duel. Everything feels tight. The Suba is exactly where it needs to be, and it's really only now that you've noticed that your father is carrying a different sword than what he used to carry when you were younger. This sword is a lot finer make. If you had to venture a guess, it's actually probably Numeraria, which is, or Numerani. There we go. It's a hard word to say. It's an awakened item that it has. It's a magic sword, basically.
Wow.
One of the quirks that you can kind of tell just by holding this sword is that you can feel, while it is unsheathed, that it feels like it's pushing itself against your objectives. So let's talk about your current desire.
Okay, like my ninja?
Yeah, your ninja. Could you read that off for me?
Be a strong family heir.
Okay. You can feel from the sword that it feels like it's pushing you, like it wants you to accomplish this desire. What it actually does to give you that feeling is you can feel it as you turn over the blade. There's this brief moment where you see the reflection of your father, and then the reflection fades into an older version of you.
Whoa, okay, interesting. I would look up at my father at Akodo Hikaru at the daimyo, Korodono, and I'd look at him and I'd look down at the blade. Where did you come across this thing? I have only ever seen one other blade of make and quality such as this in all my travels.
He takes the sword from you and he says, this katana is named Wisdom. It was given to me by a servant who has long since been out of service to me, a man who is now Ronin. With it, I will assure my own victory. And he kind of pulls on these tight gloves that he wears when he duels. Your father has been kind of superstitious throughout your years, and he believes that for a proper duel, that you should be wearing complete head to toe, all white, and everything that is possible. So, barring a mask, he covers everything in white so that blood can show.
Mm. Yeah, so I would.
Gloves are extra. Most people don't go that far.
Yeah, so I would I guess, give him back his blade after having checked him, having made sure that he, is not carrying anything illegal into this duel. And I would have been thorough. I would have made sure, definitely. I mean, this is my father, but I'm not going to allow him to besmirch our name any further with, poisoned weapons or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd give him back his sword, his katana, and I would look at him. And what would he say? He would just nod to him, kind of looking him directly in the eyes, staring directly into his eyes. I think this is the first time he's actually really looked at his father. Like really looked, not just like seen him as the daimyo of the house, but looked at him maybe with like courage, I guess, for the first time. And he would kind of nod to him and step away, letting him move into the ring, I guess, or however the duel works.
You can see that Moto's second is actually a young woman from his own clan, Moto Nahid, who's been participating inside the events thus far. She checks him, and to your surprise, Moto Nahid did not put up protest. He agreed to duel with katanas, something that he is himself not as well trained at as he is with like a tetsubo and mounted combat. He is also one of the few people that uses a tetsubo while on horseback, making him a rather intimidating fighting force. Moto Kaiketsu is the duelist. Moto Nahid is his second.
Mm-hmm.
She is close in age to you, actually. They begin sizing each other up, and because you have all grown up in Rokugan, you can see the distinct fluid movements of the duel. So I am going to break down kind of the phases of the duel, so you guys have kind of an idea of what mechanically is happening here. But I'm going to do it a little bit more narration. I'm not going to tell you like their exact dice rolls. I'm just going to tell you like results and stuff. The two of them drop into stance, and Moto Kaiketsu goes into a void stance, whereas Akodo Hikaru slips into an air stance. So your father is kind of on his toes. He's starting to kind of sway a little bit to try to make his body more pliable. Whereas Moto Kaiketsu has stood like a wave could have crashed on him and he would be immobile. He is completely open. He looks vulnerable. But there's this edge to him, like a sharpened sword that is sitting on a table. In a brief moment, you realize that the two men are equally matched as far as their speed. They begin the part of the phase where they would stare down each other and commit their own personalities to their duel to try and push themselves past their natural limitations. After 2 heartbeats, it suddenly becomes aware to all of you that Moto Kaiketsu has taken the initiative. He throws himself across the ring with a wide sweeping arc from left to right as he draws the sword. The kind of strike that you would expect from quite possibly an Ijitsu master, but it feels off, untrained, as compared to like a Kikita blade. It's definitely a mimic of what the Kikita can do on an Ijitsu draw. With his strike, instead of going complete left to right, it slashes kind of downward. And for Jeff, because you can notice these things as a subtle observer, you're going to realize that his blow is meant for the sword, not for the wielder. With that, the swords clash and you see sparks fly off of them. His blade tip starts to go into your father's shoulder, but Moto has left himself too exposed. Your father turns over his blade and slices downward into an upward strike. It's kind of this kind of upward swing like that. You see a gash of blood come off of Moto's chest. Or excuse me, I'm reading my notes wrong. You see that Moto actually twists his blade at the last second and puts the sword in the way. You can see his sword starts to break and shrapnel and crackle. He's done a shattering parry to avoid getting pretty much instantly killed by a finishing blow there. But he then twists the blade around and stabs into your father's shoulder where he started to get the blade point in before. Your father now is bleeding and is severely injured in the air ring. Akodo thrusts his sword at Moto, leaving an opening that Moto tries to take advantage of, but Akodo parries deftly. Akodo rotates the blade and strikes out again at Moto, who deflects the blow. The two men seem evenly matched. Akodo's bleeding gets worse. It's clearly, to the observers, it's a losing battle for him. Moto is just playing a game of waiting out the blood loss at this point. Akodo has switched his stances over to fire and is attacking more aggressively. If he can finish the duel quickly, he can see a doctor and he can be healed for his next match. Moto strikes again for the sword, lashing out at Akodo to make him look like a fool. This time he succeeds. Akodo's sword is thrown into the crowd. You hear screams as people try and dodge out of the way, and the sword clatters to the ground past the circle of people that are observing. Your father is now without weapon. Though your father does not back down, he lashes out at Moto with a square punch to the chin. It doesn't do much damage, but it's impressive that he still fights on even without weapon. Moto wipes away the little bit of blood that is on his chin, and he calls for a sword to be given to your father. This is where, if you guys want to give your sword to him, you absolutely can. If not, there is someone in the crowd that will do it.
Do we social repercussions for that, or?
No. Moto's actually doing the honorable thing right now, even though he's been acting like a perpetuant child this whole time. It is considered honorable to give your opponent a chance to recover their weapon or get a new weapon.
I will definitely pull out my sword then, or my katana.
Okay. Akodo takes your sword, and with like a quick bow, he returns to the duel. The two of them square off of each other again, and there's just this brief moment where they've almost entered into a stare down again. The two men lunge at each other with lightning speed. Akodo attacks again, and Moto attacks again, and this time Akodo brings up his sword to block the blow that would kill him. His sword, which is now Itagawa's sword, is damaged in the process. Akodo takes advantage of the momentum that's been created and wheels around with a wide sweeping arc. The blow would chop off Moto's head if he didn't bleed to death mid-swing. Moto sheaths his sword and makes a quiet prayer to the Moto gods of death. He turns to the Emperor, bows. Moto was barely injured in the duel, whereas Akodo, who was more of a courtier than a bushi, was clearly outmatched and let his pride take advantage of him. The Emperor looks down at the crowd and sees that the two witnesses still stand, whereas the accused has fallen. He nods his head. I believe the matter has been settled. He looks to Ikoma. Ikoma-san, as the official historian, see that his name and history is stripped from the imperial records and the line records. Posthumously, he will be dubbed a criminal for his actions. Akodo Takeo will be officially recognized as the next in line for the Daimyo heir, barring training with the current regent, Ikoma Shinzo. If that settles all matters, I will leave the rest to my Emerald Champion. I look forward to tomorrow's games and the future victor. With that, the Emperor turns, and it's deathly quiet in the room. The Emperor leaves, the door shut, with an echoing thud. And a moment later, just a heartbeat later, the room becomes alive again, as if nothing had happened. Commoners have come in. They are pulling out the body of Akodo Dono, cleaning the mess from the duel. Moto is being congratulated by his other unicorn allies. And what is quite possibly the most interesting thing is Shinjo, who is the unicorn champion, is walking over to you, Takeo. She says, I am sorry to see your family receive such loss, but I am glad to have a new chance at peace between our clans. Your father was always very against my position of not wanting to give up my family name and not wanting to marry the Lion clan once I learned of what they intended. You'll have to forgive me. I'm closer related to Gaijin than I am samurai. But I do my best, as we all do. I hope that you and I can find peace in these troubling times. She is stopping you from locating your father's blade with this conversation.
Yeah, no, I think I would have motioned to Senzo to retrieve it as she was approaching me.
Okay.
And I would look at her, and I'm trying to think, like, I obviously don't want to offend, but I'm trying to find the best way to phrase, essentially, it is not the circumstances of one birth that determines one's honor, or, like, who you are. Like, basically, I'm trying to say, it does not matter to me if you're Gaijin. Like, I understand, because I was Ronin.
Yeah, that's totally fine to say something like that.
Yeah, so I would look at her as she approaches and kind of give her a nod of respect. And I think she would definitely notice that I'm shaken. I'm definitely a bit flustered by what's happened, and I would kind of like shake my head and look at her as she starts to speak to me.
If you could, please give me a sincerity check. Basically, what I'd like you to do is your target number is going to be 1. You have 3 strife coming to you. For each bonus success, you're going to lower the amount of strife you get. She is going to help you. That's her whole intentions behind this conversation. Okay. She is skilled, so you'll get 1 white die to add to your roll and keep.
So, you mean sentiment?
Yes, sentiment.
You said sincerity.
Not composure, because you wouldn't roll composure.
Okay. I'm going to use the air stance because that is analyze. I feel like he's trying to like figure out what exactly has happened here.
Yeah.
I'm rolling. See, that's 1 exploding success. Another exploding success. Okay, so I got 2 successes, an advantage, and a strife. Well, I just won't keep the advantage. So 2 successes.
2 successes. Okay, good. So with that, you take 1 point of strife from the situation. You can tell that while she's probably not the most skilled at this sort of thing, she's very earnest, and she is trying to help you out with the situation. One of her servants arrives with Itagawa's sword, which is still usable. It's just damaged. What would be best done at this point is to turn it over to a sword polisher who's going to spend the next month repairing Itagawa's sword.
I meant the Numari or whatever blade.
I know which one you meant. I'm saying that Itagawa's sword was returned. The one you meant, Senzo is going after.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool.
After a few moments, the crowd kind of disperses. People generally, it's one of those things that, like, it was okay to talk about for a few moments after the duel was done. But after that, the Emperor's judgment was decreed, and nobody's really supposed to talk about it. If they talk about it, it would be considering like an attack on your honor at this point. if they say something bad about your father. Moto Kaiketsu has turned into actually quite the pleasant person to be in the last couple minutes. It seems that with his feud between your father and him gone, he's actually much more pleasant to be around. He seems to be more jovial. He is wearing robes instead of armor inside the court now. After a few minutes, Senso comes back to you, and he doesn't bow to you because he's been declared as regent, so technically he is higher rank than you at the moment. He says, Akodo Dono, I was unable to retrieve your father's sword. I have the guards looking for it, but it can't have gone far.
And I would look at him as he says this, and I would say, please, I admonish you to do all that you can to retrieve it. It is important that we find this item.
Of course. When you have a free moment, I'd like to speak with you about the crimes that I confess to.
And I would nod to him. And are we alone? Are people like...
No, you're still inside the main courtyard of where Winter Court's being conducted. Like, think of it as there's a bunch of rooms that are in kind of a square shape, and then there's like an inside the building kind of mock courtyard inside this floor. So the social common area is where you're at right now.
Yeah.
However, you could return to rooms, and technically you now have the suite that is a couple floors above this that is now yours. That is full of your father's clothing and stuff still, but it's yours technically.
Yeah.
So if you wanted real privacy, that would be the best place to go.
Yeah, I would. So, I mean, there are people about, but they're like giving us space, right?
Yes, they're trying to be respectful, but you have been around long enough and lived in Rokugan long enough to know that if you discuss here in the courts, you either A, need to cover your mouth with like a fan so that people cannot use your words against you, or B, accept the fact that they're going to rumor mill on what you say, regardless of what it actually is that you say.
Yeah. I would approach Senzo, like kind of step up to him, and just to show him that like I don't hold what happened against him, would like putting an arm on his shoulder, like a touch, like be enough to show that like I'm not, like that I don't hold his confessing against my father against him. Like that he was just doing what was honorable. So
that would work. However, you will lose a little honor for doing it if you do it publicly like this.
Okay, well, then I won't do that because I guess that would give people a bunch of stuff to freaking be rumor mongers about. I would say, yes, we must speak later.
That's kind of the jam here.
Yeah, no, they're all, I guarantee, like, we're talking, and then I turn and look, and like a dozen faces turn away. And then I look the other way, and a dozen more faces just turn away. Yeah, I would just kind of nod to him and say, we'll speak later then.
And it's almost like background noise. You've kind of grown accustomed to it, and you normally tune it out, but you can hear the incessant scratching of a pen on paper nearby. Ikoma is not far away, recording history that's being unfolded in front of you.
I would turn towards Ikoma, and I would ask to take a quick walk with me.
Ikoma would like look up from the scratching on the paper of the incessant notes. He's like already filled like the vast majority, and he's like flipping through pages that he's been writing, as so much has been unfolding so quickly that there's been a lot to record.
I imagine because Ikoma is so meticulous, there's actually like a student that goes to the Ikoma Bard School that has been assigned to you for Winter Court, and literally his whole job is to fetch new scrolls for you and give you replacement ones when you fill them out, and then store yours.
Yeah, exactly. He's He's already got piles of them done up, like all the different competition ranks and results,
like
but
a
also
gopher. He
especially
preps your,
now. Yeah,
gets your scrolls, organizes the ones that you're done with.
yeah. But Ikoma would kind of look up, and I'm curious, Chris, if there would be sort of any repercussions being the historian outside of like missing in case something happens for like leaving the primary
No,
site, or would it be more or less acceptable to
No,
leave
technically
for a
there are other
moment?
historians that are here that would report to you. They're going to turn in their reports to you now, kind of like you turn in your reports to your lord.
Perfect.
Like technically, Akodo, your lord's name. I'm forgetting it now. I had it down here somewhere.
You mean my cousin?
Katashi, yeah.
Okay,
Technically,
okay.
Akodo Katashi in this matter will report to you, which is normally not the other way around, because he's reporting in the Winter Court, but you've been designated as the official historian.
Yeah, in that case, Ikoma would just give a very slight nod, and would kind of take a short step to signify that he would follow you.
Okay, we'll get to that in a second. Itagawa, your sword has been returned to you, and it is damaged. You can see that there are cracks, and the blade itself kind of looks like a shark's maw. It's completely jagged down the where the edge should be. The sword is still usable in its current condition, but it wouldn't be as effective. Mechanically, when you use this weapon until it is fixed, it's a TN1 higher than what it normally would be. Tonbo, who didn't stray very far from you when the whole thing happened. In fact, she kind of lost a little honor, because instead of leaning back and putting her Yojimbo between her and the duel and trying to kind of space herself a little bit, she actually used you as the deflection between her and the situation of the duel. She moved closer to you than her Yojimbo, which would be proper. She sees the sword being returned to you, and she speaks up. Itagawa-san, I am impressed with your honor to give Akodo Dono your sword, even if he was struck down. It's very kind of you.
Tonbo-chan, Akodo Dono was someone I've served for a while now, and upon completing the mission that I was assigned by my father, he offered me his name. I felt very much indebted to this family for them to give me a chance to prove my honor to my father. Is the only thing that felt right to do. It's just unfortunate that such foul rumors that clearly could not be true struck him down. This troubles me greatly. I'm assuming that's probably not appropriate to say out loud, so can I be whispering it? Or
I think this is kind of a hushed conversation between the two of you. She kind of frowns at what you say there, and she says, there were two witnesses to his crimes. Daimo, who said that his family's political prisoner bore witness and received the crime, and his own Karo. I don't mean to speak ill of the dead, but it seems that there is truth to the accusations.
I suppose you're right, but it just seems like such troubling times for Takeo just to get his name back and this to happen to him. It seems like things were finally starting to turn around for him. Hopefully he's ready for the mantle that he must now take up.
Of course. And what of you and your father? I know that Akodo Dono was supposed to speak on your behalf to him.
I suppose that will be up to me now to speak to him. And hope that he takes my word for it.
if you will accept my aid, I would not mind conferring as a witness to what you tell him. Supposing that it's all true, and she kind of smiles at you like she's joking with you.
He doesn't get it at first, but then seeing her smile kind of like a couple steps behind the conversation is just like, oh, and then smiles back like, yes, having you beside me, I mean, having you as an aid to this would always be a great pleasure and appreciated, Tonbo-chan.
Very well. Let us go talk to him immediately then. I'm sure that his mood will be steady, if nothing else, after today's events.
Very well.
Let's jump back to the other two, who are. Did you take Ikoma to your office, or are you just walking around the courtyard to avoid prying ears?
I think to the office. I think this is a private matter.
So it's those things that feels weird. Is the best way to describe it. Like, not only did you witness your father being technically honorably cut down, even though he was found out to be a criminal and he faced death the way he should as a samurai, but it feels weird because you're walking into the office that you remember playing as a child, hiding underneath the desk from your brothers during a game of hide and seek. And it's now your desk. It's now your office. The books that he used to chide you for rearranging on the shelves, it's all in your name now.
I think I would approach that shelf and I would change the books to the way that I always thought they should have been organized, just like while I'm talking to Ikoma Hideki, to Ikoma-san. And I'd be standing, like I think that I'm not used to this whole, like, you know, air thing. So like I think that there's like a weird kind of air of informality. Like he's still being formal, but like you kind of like not be looking at him as he's looking at these books and kind of like pulling one out and like scrolling through it and putting it back.
So I do want to point out one thing. Your brother,
yeah,
still technically alive.
I know.
But the Emperor has chosen you to be the heir, not your brother, who is rightfully supposed to be the heir. So I do want to be clear that the Emperor was actually choosing you, not me making a mistake.
Yeah, yeah. And I think this would be shocking to him as well, because I definitely don't think that my father would have come out and like told the Emperor like, hey, like Mitsuo is not like fit to rule. Like I don't think he foresaw this at all, obviously.
No, so, you know enough about your father and his scheming ways that like he would have found a way to make Mitsuo not be available to be the heir and make you the heir, but hide what's going on with Mitsuo.
Yeah, so I'd kind of I'd be looking away for a second, and I think again, as your subtle observer, you see that he's like clenching and unclenching his left hand as he's trying to come to terms with what has happened. And finally, he'd turn and face him. Ikoma-san. Like, what is the title? Like the designated historian or something?
Yeah, he's the official historian of Winter Court.
Yeah. As the official historian of Winter Court, I think this has come to a shock to us all, as what has happened. And you obviously know it's not a shock to Takeo, because you saw that it was told to him, like he knows. And he would kind of finally go back to behind the desk and start looking at like all the stuff that's just kind of sitting on top of it. I know my father, and in light of what has happened, I must ask two things of you. First, I know that it was in my father's ways to paint everything that the lion did in the best light that it could. Whether that be in speaking or in written history. Seeing as things are the way they are now, I must ask that no matter what my father may have asked of you, that the events from here on out are reported properly and completely, and that I ask of you the task. You go back and look through other records and verify their authenticity. I will not have the Lion Clan be founded upon a lie. Or established as such.
Before I answer in character, I'm curious about something, Chris. Would something like this be taken as an accusation? Because obviously, like, I know that it's technically true that I did forge some documents for him, but like being told that
how you want to take it. He's technically accusing his father of it and saying that you're just following orders and he understands. But if your character wants to take offense to it, like, how dare you think that I would agree to something like that? Then yeah, you absolutely can.
Okay, I wasn't totally sure how that would work socially.
I mean, you're in a private room, so there are some graces available to you. Like, you can talk frankly with each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Ikoma would just kind of frown, look back to you. Even if history will see him for what he was, in the good and the bad, I understand it's difficult to lose the person you call father. My condolences. As for the records of history, I'm sure it will reflect the Lion Clan as accurately as it can. Even such, though I believe them to be well-founded, if it is your desire that I scour the records to determine their authenticity, to find potential points that may have caused conflict or have been scoured over, it would be my honor to do so under your command.
And I think I'd kind of like I'd sense this barb, like a little bit of a barb. Please do not mistake what I'm saying, Akoma-san, for accusation. I merely know the painting that my father wished to paint, the picture that my father wished to paint. I do not know if he asked you to falsify records for this current winter court. I do not know who he asked to do it in the past, if he did, or if it has even happened. I merely wish for truth to be within the Lion's vaults.
And if I may dare say to ask, and forgive me if it is outside of my realm, what picture do you hope to paint for the Lion Clan? What history will they write about you that is different from your father? Are you his heir or something else? He's like kind of like almost asking like two questions at the same time. Like, are you going to be the same person that he was or not? But also, like, what are you hoping to accomplish?
Yeah, I'd look back at Ikoma and I'd say, think Ikoma-san. In our time together, in our travels together, have I ever attempted to falsify or lie about my own actions or the actions of others? I merely wish that honor become the Lion Way once more.
And you would be able to tell, I would think, that what Ikoma is about to say is not meant to be an insult, just merely a fact. And he means no ill intentions, though it's up to you to take it as such or not. But he would say, those with no power have little reason to lie, little reason to falsify. They have nothing to gain. With power that comes from leading comes temptation. You have not faced that temptation, so how you will act upon it is for the future to decide.
Wiser words have never been spoken, Akoma-san. And I understand that, and I fear that. But I believe in myself, as I only had myself to believe in for many years.
Then may the records reflect your honor as it shows, as it should be, and as it will be.
Akuma-san. And he would be incredibly frank at this point. This is him. I mean, we're in a private room. This is him unmasking slightly. Ikoma-san, are we friends?
Ikoma would kind of look away from you, and kind of his eyes would glance over at the shelf that you've been rearranging for the past while, and then back to you. To be frank, it's hard to say sometimes where the line of duty ends and friendship begins. In places like these, and you can tell he just means like Rokugan in general, the lines blur, become hard to read. But to be open, it's hard to say now what we are. Perhaps such a thing could come to be. There's still much to deciding who you are, what you will be, and what will witness such things.
He would nod. I merely ask because my brother... And you see him stop on the word for a second as he's realizing what his duty requires of him. Mitsuo, you used to always tell me that you could always put faith in a friend. When you have an answer for me, Ikoma-san, please tell me, let me know. As of now, I have difficult decisions to make.
And the difficult decisions will only continue from now ever onward. If I might offer a recommendation, outside of social record, he'd say, knowing that what he's about to suggest is not meant to be like official. And he would look for your permission.
You would just nod. You would hear what you have to say.
As painful as it is to lose one family member, I find it hard to suggest that you lose more. But your brother is still tainted. Word gets out about how, why. Will not just be shame on him. It could bring ruin. Dark magic is nothing to take lightly. I would never command a daimyo, in training or not, to take any action that is for your decision and yours alone. But simply be aware of the dangers that our recent circumstances have put upon not just you now, but your entire family and clan. They will look to you for answers, for hope, for honor. It will be up to you to provide that.
Yes, I know.
He would never like outright say it, but he's basically saying that you should get rid of him.
Yeah.
Get rid of Mitsuo.
Yeah, he would nod and say, this I know. It is difficult. And he would kind of look down at the desk as he kind of like sits down in the chair, kind of looking at all the papers and the documents his father left sitting there. But the sharpened katana does not always get to choose the method in which it is used. Thank you, Ikoma-san. Again, please find me once you have an answer for me. The Kami know I only have so many people who I know for certain I can trust these days.
Whether or not we are friends is my duty. You have my trust, my abilities at your disposal. I'll say, once court is over and my duties to official as historian to that are done, I will begin scouring the records that your father held. Look for inconsistencies. I will report back to you.
Thank you. That is all I ask. And he would kind of just nod to you as like an obvious, like, feel free if you have other duties to attend to that you can leave if you need to.
There's nothing else you'd have of me, then The court calls for my abilities.
Of course, I would not keep you from the court.
I'll return back. And then he would turn to leave.
Akodo Takeo, you find yourself in your newly acquired office, kind of going through things, back to absently minding the books. You'll end up taking one strife, just kind of taking in the whole scene that's around you. And you come across a section of your father's office that even as a child you never played with because you knew that that would get you beaten. It's your father's painting easel. Your father was always a fan of brushwork. He would do large canvases where he worked calligraphy letters and he tied together to where it was multiple words of a poem through one brush stroke. And he has one of these 6-foot-long canvases that's leaned up against this easel. And he has a very long brush. And it looks like everything was prepped so that he could do a new poem this evening. You can see a couple more panels painted up, and there's one that is in red along the wall that you see that it's like the power piece to the room. It's a big panel that is right behind his desk, and you can see the word wisdom, the name of his katana. It's the only one that is written in red ink.
Yeah, I would look at this huge painting and like kind of frown in surprise, as like because it never really meant anything to me until I found out that that was his special katana. And I'd look at it, kind of perplexed, like why, of all things, is this the centerpiece? And is it like firmly affixed to the wall?
It's not. You're able to move it with ease, and as you do, you can feel that it's heavier than a normal painting would be.
Okay.
And it doesn't take any bit of effort. There's no searching behind it. You simply turn the canvas and you can find that there's a pillow book that has been tucked behind the painting. So canvas goes on a frame, and there's usually like a 2-inch gap from where the canvas is to the wall. That's the frame itself. He's got a little pillow book right inside there. Pillow book is kind of like the L5R version of like a diary.
Yeah, I'd reach down, I'd pick it up, perplexed, and look at this big painting wisdom again and kind of like set it back in place after I pull the book down. And determine that I'm going to actually change this painting and I'm going to turn it into one that says honor. I'm going to have somebody paint one that says honor for me. And I kind of take this book down and I'm going to just leaf through it.
You find some touching stuff about the birth of Mitsuo. He's had this book for a long time. And then the birth of Ryu, the children playing, you coming along. Proof that Moto was a political prisoner. Everything seems really good until a certain point inside his book when he was visited by Doji Tsubaki, a Ronin smith. He writes Doji Tsubaki, a Ronin smith, inside there, but you know that by naming conventions, he would just go by Tsubaki. But it's odd that your father would have notated who his previous family would have been. It's on that day he was gifted wisdom. This was 1 year before your exile. As you go through the book, you can see the tenor of your father's writing patterns change. His brushstrokes have changed very slightly. Instead of being this graceful, sing-songy kind of script, they become more rigid, like he's moving with fervor through each brushstroke. And you can see inside the office, because you have a series of his different panels, where that change happened, where the poems go to these more direct and focused themes rather than these beautiful kind of romanticized, like kind of talking about a subject rather than directly about the subject. You can tell that he was changed by that visit. And then later, as you go through the books, you find where you return notes about Moto, the collector, and things start coming together. There are notes about war gear, and it's scattered and you're having to piece it together, but you find that there is something your father has become obsessed with. He calls it the war gear of dark ambition. You find that the katana is a part of the set. All of them were forged by Doji Tsubaki for a man named Daidoji Dajan. Let me put that out there for you. Those are both names. You find out that Tsubaki was actually trained by sea masters before he was considered to be impractical. He would take risks that were unnecessary as a smith, and he would try to engage with the kami to create Numenera. And for that, the sea pushed him out of the school. They refused to teach him any further. Along with the katana, there is a wakizashi called Knowledge, a set of plated armor called Armor of the Adept Warrior, a helm, which the most important part is actually the obi, or sorry, not the obi, the mask that's inside there, which is called the Mask of the Canny. And the most unusual out of the whole set is a tea set called Compassion. You find that inside his notes that it empowers the owner to become a great champion for the Empire, and that it will set the Empire free of the kami.
So there was a wakizashi called Knowledge, a katana called Wisdom, a helm called the Mask of the Kani, a tea set called Compassion, and what was the other thing?
Mask of the Canny, like canny wisdom, like canny.
Okay.
Armor of the Adept Warrior. And then the tea set is called Compassion.
Warrior.
You will see that he has notes on one of the people, actually two of the owners of these items. You will find that he's actually become obsessed and wants to collect the items so that he could live out his own desires. Moto Kaiketsu seems to be the current owner of the Armor of the Adept Warrior.
How did I not? I fetchin' knew it. I knew it. Okay. Oof.
You also find inside the notes that it appears that the collector had spoken with Akodo Dono before you arrived in town, and that the whole thing was actually a setup to get you to come back.
Ow. Okay.
He found out from the collector that Moto Kaiketsu is descendant from the Dark Moto, who were supposed to have been banished to the Shadowlands years ago. And you find out that Moto Kaiketsu is plotting to kill Shinjo Altanasari, the woman who spoke to you about peace between the lion and the unicorn. It seems your father wasn't going to do anything to stop that, but he was aware of the plot.
How was he aware? Does it say?
He says that he learns it from the collector, the Moto young man that you guys took down 2 sessions ago.
But he's plotting to kill Shin. Well, I mean, that's tough because I can't open with that because then she won't trust me.
Mm-hmm.
Like she'll just think I'm trying to play her like my father was. Okay. Yeah, I'd be reading all of this, and I think the time would just kind of whittle away before I realize that I now, as the daimyo heir, am like I should be down at the games essentially. Like, and I am up here reading this book, and I've been here for a while.
Absolutely. We're going to actually touch on the others, and then we'll get back to what you do from that point forward once you realize that.
Yeah, I was going to say that he would have been in the very beginning. He would have started he would have been kind of like crying at the memories, like kind of like alone in this room, as he's remembering like the good father, like during the time when everything was good, and then like he'd kind of frown and like everything would change with him as well at that one point. Like, oh, my father wasn't himself because of X reason. Like something was going on.
The next thing that we focus in on is Itagawa, you find your father, who is Shiba Kuzan. There we go. He is with Shiba Linzao, your adopted mother. She is kind of whispering about the court. She seems to be very appalled by the duel that she had to bear witness to. And she's just kind of flitting about, talking to the other courtiers and the Shugenjas that are present, just gossiping and gathering information the best she can. This is completely not out of character of her, but your father stays dutifully within earshot of his wife as she does whatever suits her fancy at the moment there.
I imagine as I'm kind of guiding Tombo through the crowds, and I see my father, and I kind of point him out to him, making small discussions about how he's a sensei of the dojo that I learned at. And then I come around like a bend and then see Shiba Linzao there, and just like kind of instinctually stop and just, it seems like he's kind of already preoccupied speaking to somebody. To which point, I imagine they already see me and it's like too late, but I'm trying to like
one of those things. And Tombo goes, nonsense. He appears to be completely available. However, his wife seems to be quite busy, and she smiles to herself. She's always got kind of this playful bluntness to her. And she immediately approaches your father, and she gives a respectful bow, probably a little deeper than would be necessary, as if it was her own sensei that she was bowing to. Shiba Kuzan, I am Tonbo Kou. It is an honor to meet you. She bows very deeply. Shiba returns the bow, and he kind of looks a little confused at this very forward woman that just came up to him. And then he'll notice you kind of like right in tow.
And I'll bumble behind her and then also bow. And in this situation, it's proper to call him Shiba Sema, I'm assuming, not father. Or can I just...
You could either do Sama, you could call him father because technically he is and it doesn't break anything, or you could call him Shiba Sensei since he was your instructor.
Shiba Sensei, for sure.
Okay. Shiba kind of smiles at you and he says, I am proud of my son this day. Not only did you do the honorable thing by giving a man a sword in a duel when he clearly was not ready to give up, but you also beat me at Kamari. And he kind of like laughs at his own joke there. Like that was the more impressive thing today, that you beat him at Kamari.
I nod and say, it is only because I've had a great sensei to teach me both honor and Kamari.
Of course. And the night goes on, and there's discussion between you, Tombo, and him discussing the events that have happened. I imagine that unless you particularly say anything to like actually destroy people's honor, you're going to give him the like clean version of what all happened and like a good report that would be socially acceptable, right?
Yeah, I imagine that I would be too like naive to even do otherwise.
Yeah, and Tombo, because of the type of person she is, she's going to break some moral gray area. She's going to make sure that he understands that the collector was a Maho user, which normally you wouldn't speak of those things. It would be kind of inferred and nobody would officially say it, but she's just like, yes, he used blood magic.
And I kind of whinge like every time she says something like that, just like, oh, because I really want my father and inevitably my adopted mother, who's probably not too far behind, to like be okay with this person.
Yeah, and your father seems to be taking in the whole story, and he listens and he nods and he says, the Phoenix are familiar with these magics, and I am proud to say that you were on the right side of them in this battle. It seems that your charge has become Akodo again, and you are without purpose. With this report, I think it is time for you to choose your alliances. I received a letter saying that you were going to be offered the Akodo name. Are you Akodo Oda now, or do you still have desire to be Shiba Oda?
Father, although it was a great honor to be offered the proud lion's name, it has always been my goal and desire to share your name.
He nods. I will speak with Shiba Dono on the matter, but I believe it is possible. Though if you are returning to the Shiba clan, you are at the age where we must consider our legacy. And he kind of says it, and he looks a little embarrassed because, like, Tombo's right next to you guys, and Tombo's, like, kind of oblivious to it. She hears the words, but, like, doesn't connect the dots.
Right. I imagine that I'm, like, probably semi-naive to it also, but then catch up to him and just trying to feel where he's going with it.
I will speak with the other courtiers here and find those that I think are suitable for you, and we'll speak more on the matter later. But as far as your next assignment, and he kind of looks around the room, we should find you a proper Shugenja to pledge service to. It will solidify your standing in the Shiba family. And he goes into a conversation with Tombo, and Tombo brings up that Tombo Abun, her Yojimbo, she already has one. And he kind of nods to himself, and it's at this point where he says that he would like to meet with Tombo Abun. And you've been kind of wrapped up in the fact that Tonbo Kou has been with you so close. She's been interacting with you so much that you didn't really pay attention to her shadow. And you find that he is across the room. He's given you a breadth of distance that he has never given the two of you in the past. He's observing, but he's not, like, on top of you.
And would it be my charge to call him over then?
You absolutely could.
Yes. I would approach him and Tombo-san, would you care to speak with my father, Shiba-kuzan? I appreciate you allowing me a chance to have Tombo come to my aid. It appears that he would like to speak to you as well.
Very well. And he goes to speak with your father. From here, it's mostly niceties. They begin talking about the other Shugenjas that are in court, and you can tell that your father is doing some, like, dossier building of the different Shugenjas that are in court and who might be useful to offer your services to that could push the family as far as status and glory is concerned. Your father, if nothing else, is a surprising politician. The next round of events is coming up. As far as, Jeff, your question about speaking with your lord, you absolutely could. He's an actor here, so you could catch him between sets, and you could express interest in his singing. And that could be kind of your cover.
Yeah, I think that I would definitely do that at some point. Kind of like just coming in as like just like a samurai to a performer of just like, oh, I saw your performance. I'd be very interested in, having you come do something for like whatever event or circumstance might be appropriate. Like as if he's been charged from like a lord to come like potentially like contract him for services. But in reality, it would be obvious that it's like, I would like to talk to you, and it's important enough.
And Shosuro Kuzan nods his head and he agrees, and he says, the snow hasn't been falling too hard. I would like to take a walk through the garden. It's actually quite beautiful this time of year.
Certainly.
As the two of you leave, the air kind of bites at you, but you're wearing winter clothing, so you have kind of heavy wool kimonos on, and you can hear the crunch of fresh snow underneath your feet. And what he said is right. It's actually lessened quite a bit. It's one of those dull moments between the flurries of snow. And you can see the courtyard in front of you where the lake has frozen over. There's small children playing nearby, kind of daring each other to step onto the ice further than the last one did. Things that kids do. There's a few people outside, but it's actually quite easier to maneuver and find a private place within the garden than it is inside the indoor courtyard kind of effect that's going on in Winter Court. He sits down at a bench with you underneath it's that same cherry tree that has appeared several times in our story now. Its leaves completely gone and its branches bare. Well, what do you have to say?
Yeah. One more quick scan around as I'm used to, just to make sure that there aren't prying eyes or ears too close.
Yeah,
and I'm sure we both would have found a spot well aware. Yeah.
Yeah, as you scan, Shiba Kuzan kind of gets impatient and he says, I've already checked. I wouldn't have spoken clearly if I didn't already know that there was no one watching. What do you have to say? We may be limited on time.
Lion Clan is at a weak point, weaker than they've ever been. Their family's in shambles with the new daimyo in training. It's foolish. Idealistic. Wants to bring truth, honor, such things as if they mean anything. If you want the conflict to consider, we need to act quickly. To push the unicorn in, one of them asks for peace, which is to look for treaty with the new lord. Kindliness, peace in their eyes. The plan is to go forward. This must be stopped. I'm at a loss.
I have received a request through our normal channels. It seems that the lord that you are concerned with will not be a problem much longer. There's a troop that is already moving in on this one. And the next in line, well, he will require no further pushing to attack the lion.
I suspected that such matters had already been seen to, such as your ways and the ways of our people.
I don't know that we should take the offer, though. While it pays exceptionally well, possibly more than the daimo's life is worth, it could suit us better to let him settle his own matters. It would make him a criminal. You already have the trust of the lion daimo in training. Perhaps instead of focusing our efforts into the unicorn, it would be better to focus our concerted efforts into the lion. Let the unicorn make fools of themselves. And then we can offer aid.
Of course.
Lion already know what it's like to fight a war on two sides. I'm sure they don't want to continue, especially if it's going to become a full-blown war on both sides. The crane will be attacking in spring again. That much I know. But the unicorn, as you said, seek peace.
The up-and-coming daimyo, as he will be, is on the verge of complete trust. He took time to speak to me earlier, asked if I was a friend in any true way. If it suits, I can quite easily tell him, of course, that he has my full backing. It would make me less available, restrict my movements within my normal status now, but it may provide greater detail into what they're planning, how we might be able to subvert it if necessary.
Your current position has been invaluable. Make yourself available to him. Continue to grow this friendship with him, but keep an eye on the unicorn. They've already proven themselves to be quite the tricksters. Akodo Dono's sword has been spirited away already. I attempted to recover it myself, but by the time I got to it, it was gone, and I suspect the unicorn, if anyone. I'm sure your eyes even were able to pick up that Moto was striking at the sword on purpose.
Even further, when I was near to Akodo Takeo, approaching to his father, I could see the words on his lips, though they could not be heard. He was interested in the sword. It seems it's a relic of great importance to the lion. I'm not certain as to what the specifics are. It seems the sword's location is becoming increasingly important and sought after.
I know that it is numerary, but as far as what it does, I do not know. I was able to glean its name, Wisdom. See if you can find it inside the Lion archives, any sort of information on this weapon. The Lion have several Numenera at their availability, but I've never heard of this particular one.
I've already been tasked by our new Lord-to-be to scour the archives, look for inconsistencies in his former father's records. I'll use it as an excuse to dive deeper into such relics as these, see what I can dig up. Of course, you'll be the first to know.
Excellent. In that case, your new charge will be to make yourself loyal to this Akodo Takeo. Do what is necessary to gain his trust, and gain what information you can on Wisdom and what the unicorn interest may be. If that is complete and full, you have no doubt in my mind that you will go far and be able to retire as an actor, which is kind of a running joke for actors. Most actors die in the line of duty. Very few of them actually do retire, and they go to a monastery to become monks for the rest of their lives when that happens.
Yeah, Akagi would laugh at that, just kind of shake his head at the joke and the jab. Perhaps
Speaking of
such an
which,
end
my
goal.
time,
Yeah,
speaking
go
of which,
ahead.
my time is, I fear, drawing to a close. I've been around one too many suspicious performances. It's only a matter of time before Bayushi asks me to step down and retire myself.
It'd be a great loss, but such things are understandable. Eyes and ears can only be prying for so long before they arouse suspicion, no matter how well disguised and well kept secret.
The Sedane match is next. I have been speaking with Moto Kaiketsu, and if the man is anything like he's shown himself to be, I suspect that he will make an ass of himself and his clan during the game. I would recommend that you not engage with the man as best as you can.
Understood. I'll do whatever I can to keep myself from the provocations if such things do arise. Well, unless there's anything else that you would have ordered or suggested, I would not keep you from your sets or me from my records too long.
No, but tell your new daimyo, and he says it with a little bit of a smile, that I asked to put on a performance this time next year for him, outside of the Imperial Winter Court, that I enjoyed my time here. We'll use that time to reconvene and trade information again.
As you say, I'll make sure a meeting is arranged.
He gets up and he gives you a very polite kind of shallow bow, like the conversation is just done. And then he goes across the lake to where the children are playing, and he starts playing with them, and you can tell what he's doing is he's getting them to talk. This is kind of a very basic Scorpion tactic. Children overhear things, and sometimes children are better observers than you give them credit for. So he's getting information and rumors from the children about what their parents are up to and what the other adults are doing and the secrets that they know, and he's giving them candies and things like that. He's collecting all the information he can from them since they are available, and no one will spy him doing this.
Internally, Akagi would smile at the tactic, knowing its effectiveness, but externally he would keep that lion stoic composure that he always has, and would leave while he's doing this to basically make sure that they don't like leave and arrive at the same time, as to not draw like excess eyes. Like I don't think it would be uncommon for a samurai to speak with an artist, but anytime you have scorpions dealing with anybody, it can draw weird attention. So he'll like make sure that he arrives separately from Shosuro Kazan.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's take a brief break right here. This is a little bit later than I intended, but I think this is a good place for it. We'll take 5 minutes here, and then we'll be back and we'll do channel introductions and all that stuff. So at 46 my time, or your time, that'll be when we'll be back. For everybody that's tuning in, thanks for tuning in, and hopefully you're enjoying it so far. I don't have the chat open, so I'll see what you guys comment and stuff like that later on. Just because it distracts me when I GM, so I apologize about that, but I'll be checking during this break to see if there's anybody that I should comment to. Thanks, guys, and enjoy your break as well. All right, I'm back. It looks like Jason's lapel is joining us for the game. He just finished up his. So, Jason, when you get to this part of the video, hey, hopefully you're enjoying it so far. I've had a lot of fun with this session.
Yeah, we've gotten a lot of the curtain being pulled back this session, which has been really interesting. Kind of see what's been like the motor beneath the hood of the paint that we've been seeing so far. A little bit, getting a little bit more insight into what's driving everything. Been really cool.
Yeah, I had to think about like how the reveal was going to go, if it was going to be a conversation or if it was going to be the pillow book, and I'm really glad it ended up being the pillow book. I think that gives more to the character that was Akodo Hikaru before he became a monster. Like he was a person. If it was a conversation between the two, I don't think he'd feel like a person anymore.
Yeah, because you can never like truly peel back the layer of like what's now and deception versus what truly was. But like when it's recorded like privately in a book, then there's kind of you lose that veneer of deception or potential deception.
Dude, Takeo's so unassuming, man. He just assumes that everybody cares as much about honor as he does.
He's
say,
too pure for this world.
It's so funny too because like that's like a lion to the T. Like lion are like shocked that other people don't follow Bushido. Like that's the best way to describe it, which is funny because like your father, I diametrically opposed him to you as far as like his beliefs in Bushido and stuff like that.
Yeah. It's tough, man.
Which we were just talking about. I was really glad that we got the reveal of who your father actually was with the pillow book rather than a conversation of him being crazy, being like, we got to collect all the items and make this cool armor.
Pokemon, all you know it's true.
Yeah.
The Wakazashi and the armor too.
Yep.
Yeah, he's all about the gotta catch them all for the freaking what was it called? The armor of dark ambition or something? Or the war of dark ambition?
War Gear of Dark Ambition. I'll have all that stuff inside the Facebook group.
Nutty. Yeah, dude.
So that is what the whole like multiple campaigns thing is going to be about.
Just getting the different pieces.
Acquire some of the pieces now, and then there'll be another little mini campaign about acquiring a couple of pieces or one a piece.
Dude, Takeo if Takeo knew what those two were talking about down in the freaking garden, he'd be like utterly flabbergasted. He'd be like, I just should put all of this trust in this person. Like I was so kind to him, and like I'm telling him like what every historian should want to hear, that you shouldn't fabricate anything. But he's not a historian, so I mean he doesn't care.
I mean, in a way, like I am a historian. Like I do all the actual job that a historian would do.
Yeah, I mean, he does have to maintain his identity. If he just acts like a shitty historian and not doing stuff at least mostly right, he would lose his job, which would mean not being able to do his other job.
Yeah. No, I think I don't know. It's interesting. It's interesting for me.
In a way, I am doing everything that I say I am.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like with ulterior motive to it. Like I am still being like a good steward of history and like helping you in a lot of ways.
Dude, I don't know, man. The Scorpions they're pretty sketch, man. They're like, oh, let the unicorn make himself look like fools and cause us all internal strife. And then when the time is right, we will go and support the lions and offer our aid.
That's the Scorpion.
We just have a better picture of what'll make this empire great. And if no one else is willing to do it, then we'll make sure that things go right. That's really all it is.
I'm actually super interested to see what happens canonically with the Scorpion and like the next card set that comes out. Now that because in the old lore, Akodo Tottori and Bayushi Ayamo dueled each other to see who would become the Emerald Champion. In old lore, Ayamo won and became the Emerald Champion. In new lore, Akodo won. So it changes things in like weird ways that has ripples that we haven't even seen yet. So I'm really interested to see how that goes.
Yeah, man. I'm just see, because that was so hard for me to do, because like I knew that Takeo would not assume anything. He wouldn't jump to the conclusion that like, oh, somebody in that room must have heard and spread that rumor. Like, because like he just assumed that everyone has honor. So.
I mean, and it really was a very good twist of fate too, that the person to step forward and like take charge were like your father's like head person and a unicorn person who would have reason to know too because of their relationship with the Moto guy that we know. So it's like very reasonable that they would all know too.
Yeah.
So that was very fortuitous for me. But I will say props to you as well, because there are so many players who would try to like angle to find out, like dig into the truth. So it was very refreshing to see you just like, no, I wouldn't have a reason to think that. So
I just enabled the crap out of your shenanigans.
Well, the funny part is like before it would have been like meta to find the answers, but now that he's got the Pillow book, like he should not trust anybody. Like that's the real answer.
No, it's gonna be hard.
Respect people. Now's your chance.
It's gonna be hard because I haven't been playing Takeo as being super paranoid. But now that he's like, oh, wait, like the sword disappeared, this cannot be coincidence. Somebody else is trying to gather these two. And it does not sound good because I've seen what one did to my dad. So
what it is now is, because previously your dark secret was the whole scenario about you being pitted to do your family shenanigans.
Yeah.
Excuse me, that dark secret has been resolved. However, you've acquired a new one, which is you know of the war gear. And because your father was meticulous, you actually found instructions on how to destroy it inside his book. So if you can quietly destroy it, all the better. But basically your secret now is this is what your father was trying to do. And this would definitely sink your entire family if they found out that basically Akodo wanted to kill all the gods and basically take over Rokugan.
Yeah. So two things to be aware of that I would have done while I was alone up there. I would have sent for Senzo, and I would have sent a trusted servant to arrange a private meeting with Shoji.
Okay.
Those are the two big things that I would do.
If you want to put them off, the next match thing of Winter Court is happening. And
the next match is Sadane, isn't it? Oh, no.
It's Sadane.
Yeah, I have to attend. I'm the host.
Yep.
Don't I? Oh, my gosh. This is going to be bad.
You're expected to be there.
This is going to be so bad. Okay.
So, kind of like last time, I'm basically going to tell you who's hosting it, what element they prefer, and you guys can make rolls. For the Sadane portion, it's a TN2 courtesy check. And the host is going to actually be Shosuro Kuzan. And
freaking course it is.
He goes around and he speaks with people, and he tells everyone the art of Sadane is a subtle one. You must hide your insults within compliments. And remember, this is all in fun. Do not cross the line. Most people are going to choose to kind of, well, it's going to be 50-50 kind of. Shiba Linzao sits out. Shinjo Altanasari sits out. Moto Nahid sits out. Takashi Junji, the monk, sits out. And Miya Kiade sits out as well. The one that doesn't sit out, that is of most interest to pretty much everybody because he's made himself super well known, is Kaiketsu, who will be inside the match. Actually, before we go too much further, let's do channels because I forgot about that stuff. You guys know me. I run this channel where you guys are at. Make sure you like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. But also do it to these guys' channel. Let's start with Chris.
What's up, guys? I'm Chris playing Itagawa no Akodo Oda, the tall and timid samurai warrior. My channel is the RP Ginger, and you can find me there on YouTube, Twitter. Go ahead, give me a click and subscribe if you like. Thanks.
Perfect. Ty?
Hey, I'm Tyler Harris from the channel On a Roll. That's ROE, like role play. I am playing Akodo Takeo, the new Daimyo heir, or I guess Daimyo in training. I am loving this game. Just a new twist and turn every single opportunity, every single chance there could be one, there is one. And I run a lot of a Western setting, a homebrew setting of my own called Providence on my channel, that if you like gunslinging craziness mixes supernatural horror, go check it out.
And Jeff?
Yep, my name is Jeff. I have a YouTube channel as well. It's called Encounterbalance, where I run my games and do some other stuff. Actually had some stuff go up there, a couple different things this week. I had a video that I made just myself about character motivation that might be interesting. And then I had a conversation with Tim Carney on Thursday from AbTab about like ways that you can pitch creative ideas and like get good feedback, because he's really, really good about that sort of thing. So if that sounds interesting, I definitely would appreciate anybody checking it out, because it was a lot of fun to do. And yeah, I'll second Tyler that this game has always been great, but is taking a turn for the extremely interesting now, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing the resolution.
So with that, Sadane is the next match. Are any of you going to opt to not participate?
Itagawa is super out of this one. Subtlety and insulting, not really his game.
I think that fits. How about Ikoma and Akodo?
Yeah, I'll be around to participate and to vigorously take notes and school some people, hopefully.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I'm definitely in. The Lion are strong.
TN2 courtesy.
What's the preference again?
His preference is air.
Is air? Okay, perfect. That's what I rolled already. Awesome. This isn't a game. Never mind. So I don't get a remove strike. I'm gonna use air.
Okay. And Jeff, what do you got?
I'm still parsing this out.
Okay.
1 second. So
Keep in mind, if you guys have advantages that might be useful in this situation, you can definitely use those. I'm not sure if you do. Let me just look at my sheet and see if there's anything that makes sense.
Okay. I do
Quick
have
reflexes.
so
Quick to throw out an insult.
In this case, will work.
Okay.
That's physical reflexes. Not
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I would allow famously honest to work to your advantage.
Ooh. Yeah. I'll definitely do that. Ooh, even better. Okay, so I will need some ways to spend some advantage. So I got 6 successes and 3 advantage.
Which stance are you in?
Air, definitely air.
Okay. Let me just write this down. Do you have any insults that you'd like to share with us about some of the people inside the room? Let's see. Looking at your advantages, you could. This isn't really conflict. You could learn a character's demeanor for 1 point or 1 advantage per character's demeanor. So you could actually like learn 3 different people's demeanors during the scene, which could actually be pretty handy. You could be very subtle in your actions, which would mean like it would be one of those jokes that you make that is almost over everyone's head, and then suddenly they get it, and it has like a little bit more impact socially. Like people think you're really clever for it. Let's see. This is a social. You you could learn the honor, glory, status of a character, or if the honor, glory, or status of a character is higher, lower, or equal to yours. If you're curious about that with anybody.
I'm actually going to learn, I think, a couple dispositions.
Okay. Who are you interested in? If you need to take a look at the Facebook group, you might want to, because that's where
so
PCs are.
Definitely, Kaiketsu is going to be one of them.
Okay. Yeah, Kaiketsu has. Let me just make sure I'm doing the right one here. He has a detached demeanor. What you learn about that is when he unmasks, he usually exposes an opening. Like when he unmasks, he does it in a way that is like a snake striking out with venom, kind of thing.
I see.
Which
I don't know how
when he stepped forward and said that he was the one that spread the rumor, he was actually unmasking in the scene and taking advantage of his longtime enemy.
Interesting. I don't know exactly how this will work mechanically, but I'd like to actually pick Takeo as well.
Okay.
His disposition.
Player characters don't really have a disposition. But what you can learn from him is essentially how he reacts to stress, because that's what disposition does. So, Takeo, can you tell him what, from your 20 questions, how your character reacts to stress?
Like basically how I unmask?
Yeah.
Brutal and frank honesty.
Okay.
Interesting. And then, oh shoot, I forgot the name of the person, but the person that approached Tyler that wanted to converse about peace.
Oh, Shoji.
With the unicorn.
Shinjo Altanasari.
Oh, Shinjo. That's what Shinjo is.
With her crazy name.
I'll pick
Shinjo
her as well.
Altanasari, she is shrewd. So when she unmasks, she goes into panicked retreat.
Perfect.
Okay. So you both managed to score 2 points, but the person who seems to take Sadane does so in a way that loses him a lot of honor at the same time. It's our good friend Muro Kaiketsu who wins this match with 8 successes, because he exploded like a champ in here. And some of the highlights of his performance are Akodo Takeo moves through the court like a fine fish, something he inherited from his line, no doubt. It is a shame that the Akodo main branch has been swayed so harshly by the cruel winds of faith. Sorry, fate, not faith. I realized I lisped there. Which you know that is kind of an insult for the amount of devastation and loss that has happened to like your brothers and your father. Those were 2 particular gems from his performance that got him to lose honor at the same time. Like normally when you play Sadane, people kind of ignore the insults that are happening because it's part of the game, but those were low blows.
Takeo takes him like a champ. He doesn't even bow beneath him. He doesn't even flinch. He just takes them.
Okay. If you accept, because you rolled inside here, so you could say that you either accept them and you say nothing, or you can choose to rebuttal. If you accept them and say nothing, you will lose honor for not pushing back against an insult for your family.
Oh, dude, I'm totally gonna respond then. I use my one advantage to learn what the weakness is. What makes him? What is something that Kaiketsu is super insecure about?
You rolled with air.
Air, yeah.
So discovering a foe's disadvantage would normally only be done during initiative, but I like where you're going with it, so I'm going to allow it. You find out that he's a Gaijin. You already knew that one. That, or rather, he has Gaijin bloodline. You already knew about that. What you will find out that he has that's a little different is he has criminal connections. The way he plays Sadane kind of reveals the fact that he has he does this as a posturing thing. It's like to establish dominance. That's the way he's going through this. And you've been a Ronin for a while before this adventure really started, and you've dealt with Ronin that are involved in the criminal world. This is like part of the posturing that Yakuza do to each other to establish who's actually in charge during a scene, as they'll play a little Sadane, but it's very pointed. The way he's playing it right now is if he would be playing against somebody from one of the drug cartels.
Oh, so he's basically revealing that he has illicit like connections.
You were able to pick up on that. Not everybody is.
Interesting. Cool. How do I use that? I think I would kind of just smile as he's kind of throwing these insults at me, and kind of just nod and take them and say in response, truly, it is as they say. Your horse definitely has more honor than you do, and more subtlety.
Okay. So that was what earned you the point from Shosuro. Shosuro seems quite amused, while most of the people who participated in the game are leaving with kind of hurt feelings, but like, you know, it was all fun and games, but it went a little far.
Yeah.
That's the feeling that everybody has. From there, the next competition is horsemanship, which is a back-to-back, mainly because I want to get through the competition stuff and get done with them. Horsemanship's going to be a TN2 using horsemanship, or sorry, using survival. The judge is going to be our #1 fan in court here, Moto Kaiketsu.
Of course it is.
He looks to all of you and he says, horsemanship is about embracing the spirit of the horse, pushing further, pushing the horse, pushing yourself, finding what is the most that you can do as a combined spirit. In this event, you will run down the track that has been laid out in front of you, click several rings across a spear, and then double back, planting your spear into the ground. You will take 2 shots with a bow, and those with the best target accumulated score plus the rings collected will be ranked against each other. What he's looking for is fire. It's TN2 survival.
And I've got a super good fire ring.
I'll be sitting this one out. Itagawa probably feels more bad for the horses when he has to ride them, being such a big statured man.
That's okay. I was going to tell you to re-roll if you did ride, because you were going to be given a pony that was not the appropriate size for you.
Sounds about right.
Holy cow, dude! I just had exploding dice pop off.
Nice.
So that'll just be 2 successes for me with fire.
Okay.
Fire, 5 successes, 2 advantage, 2 strife.
So, all right. Some of the highlights from this match. Tonbo Kou. She begins furiously charging down the track. She's got her spear tucked underneath, and it seems like perfect form. And then she goes to the first ring, and the spear tip hits the edge of the ring. The ring shoots off to the side. She loses the grip of her spear, and she comes falling off of the horse. She is lightly wounded in her fire ring from the fall. The horse has trampled her a little bit, and servants had to go chase the horse down in the snow to recover it. Just
With
that,
yeah. Shit, I'm gonna get in trouble if I come chasing after her, aren't I?
Your friends, if you go to her to make sure she's okay, but you don't like pick her up and touch her, then you're pretty much okay. Her Yojimbo would be the person to like carry her to a physician.
Yeah. So yeah, he would definitely be there in an instant, but then I imagine this is a situation because there's really no strife that my character has right now where the other Tombo, Abun, is there before him finally. Like he's on to my shenanigans now and knows that I hovered too close. So like as soon as he falls, he like interposes himself and grabs her and makes sure she's okay. And I just kind of like back up like, right, that's how it's supposed to be.
You find out that she has a broken collarbone. That's how the lightly wounded to air or to fire is going to manifest itself.
I would ask her if she's okay, if there's anything I can do, Tombo.
She just kind of like warmly smiles to you as the doctor kind of sets her shoulder back, because when a collarbone's broken, there's not really too much you can do other than position it and let it rest. She says, no, I should be okay. But we'll see if I can do any of the other matches. I know a riddle is coming up, and I'm much better at that than I am with horses or Kamari for that matter. I could at least participate in that. And she kind of smiles to herself like she's having fun, even though she was pretty brutally stomped by a horse a minute ago.
Yeah, I'm just kind of looking there dumbfounded that she's taking it okay, and just yeah, I'm sure that you will have at least a better time with the riddles for sure.
And then Akodo Takeo has a horse that is pulled from the stables. It's an actual horse, not a pony. It was a gift from the unicorn from probably the time when Moto Hidemaru was brought into the clan. This is a little bit older steed, but it has some strength behind it. You race down the court or down the track. You're able to collect your rings. You shoot your arrows, and everything looks really good. You're the headliner. And then after you comes Akodo Katashi, who moves with the spirit of as if he was a centaur. Him and the horse are one. He collects the rings without making contact to the edges. It's quiet and fast. When he gets to the end with a flourish, he takes shots as if he's not aiming. He strikes with void and releases each arrow. He takes the victory with 7 successes. And then next is riddles, TN2, and that is theology. And this is going to be led by Tagashi Junji. He sets up the situation in front of you, and he says nothing to any of you to give you any clues. When you arrive, he tells you there is a door in front of you, and that to be able to pass, you must find the one thing that you cannot acquire. And that's all he tells you. The best highlight of this one, as you guys are rolling your rolls here, is Haruma Tokimune, who has been a decent competitor throughout most of this, mostly winning by his sheer size and like physical endurance. He becomes trapped in the room. He cannot leave it. And eventually the monk has to go in and retrieve the gigantic crab, who is very confused about the whole nature of this conversation, what it's all about, and doesn't really understand why he was not able to pass through the door. The monk gives him no credence whatsoever, just simply listens to his pleas and concerns, nods his head a few times, and sends the snow crab on his way.
What does this judge favor for a ring?
He does not tell you. He's one of the few judges that he didn't make a grandstand at the beginning.
So I rolled with void, and I rolled 2 successes and 2 strife.
Okay. He watches you, and you make your selection, and you're able to pass through. He gives you a slight nod as you make your way through. Oops, I realized I did this backwards.
Sorry, I may have missed it, but did we get our points for last round? I'm not sure if I got
Yes.
mine or not.
Give me a second. I'll tell you where you guys are all at.
Yep, no problem.
Let's see. Jeff got 2, used void. Ty got 3, used water. And 2 and void. Okay. So the totals currently are, let's see, 2, 4, 6, 9, and 10 for Itagawa. 2, 4, 6, 9, 10 for Akodo. And then, oh, I'm sorry. I'm got my numbers mixed up. Hold on. Let me redo this. It's 4, 6 for Itagawa, 10 for Akodo, 4, 6, 8 for Ikoma. Void was the correct ring. But all of you passed. What you find out is that you have to let go of yourself. You have to embrace the void. And when he says that you can only take with you that which you can't acquire, each of you comes to your own answers. But the one that is most pleasing to him is Tonbo Kou, who her response when she comes in is to not say anything, not question anything, and she simply walks through the door. It's completely uneventful, but for whatever reason, the monk seems most impressed with this. Like to the point where he begins like chatting about it with the others that are here, the other monks. You will hear rumor that he believes the monk opened for her rather than she opening the door, which is what you all did. The next up is betting, which is our TN2 games, which is led by Haruma Tokimune, our resident clown. This is also the sumo match, which is kind of midwinter with the East versus the West. What you'll want to do is place your bets on who you think will perform well. Basically, this is what your role is going to symbolize. It's kind of like placing chips on a roulette board. You're selecting which sumos you think are going to win, and then net successes means what it is. Now, because this is amongst samurai, it's betting with honor, so no one is actually betting money, of course, though some people may be doing that on the side. This is simply to show that you have good intuition as a warrior, is how Tokimune phrases it. He says that betting on sumai is much like betting on the warriors on the wall, who will be there for you in the next fight, who will be successful. Don't judge by passion or by cunning. Judge by what you feel. Judge by what you know in your gut to be true. He's not very poetic, but you get that he wants you to go with void.
And what skill is it using, sorry?
That is using games, TN2. It's going to be TN2 for everything. Most people don't participate. Disclaimer, if you choose to participate, you will lose 3 honor. Even though this is a like sanctioned thing, it's still betting.
No participation here then in that case.
Does
After all, I am the honorable lion.
Yeah, I'm a back out on that too.
Okay, so Jeff, you're going to participate though?
Yeah, I'll play.
Okay. All right, so with 3 successes, 1 advantage.
That was with Void, by the way.
Okay, and with void. So that will get you 2 points. There is kind of a tie that's happening between Moto Kaiketsu and Bayushi Shoju. The two of them are going back and forth about who's going to win each match. It seems like they're very tied up until the final, when it's decided that they must make a prediction on who will win, the East or the West. And if you guys remember from the little post I made in Drop Dice there, each side represents a different faction. The Sumai that Moto places his bet on is the one for the East, who is, let me just double check I've got my names right. The East team, which is the Ronin's Sumai, Yokozuna Hazu. And Bayushi Shoju will place his bet on Yokozuna Hida Fuchida from the Crab Clan, which is to Haruma Tokimune's delight, because that is his cousin who is performing inside the Sumai match. This is quite possibly the most interesting duel aside from the one that happened earlier today, or earlier in our session. The two men are clearly matched up against each other for a reason. They're both mountainous, huge men. Hida is covered in tattoos, and they lock, and it doesn't look like a lot is happening, but because most of you are trained in warrior skills, you can see that it's a lot of pushing and pulling and moving with against each other. And there's this moment where a foot slips, and the next thing you know, Yokozuna Hazu has been thrown outside of the ring and is laying on his back, defeated. This is 2 years in a row that the West has won. When this happens, it's considered extremely disadvantageous to the Empire, that bad fortunes are to come in the next year. But Yokozuna Hida Fuchida stands, bows gracefully, and does not seem super happy with his victory. Most every Sumai is superstitious, so he's not glad about the victory in the sense that he is a herald for a doomed year, in his opinion. But he is glad that his record stands.
Well, they ain't wrong. That's all I can say.
Unless
I can meet with what's her name, Shinjo.
The next up is hunting, which will be run by the Phoenix. Shiba Lin Zhao will actually run the hunting event. Something that our Itagawa would know is Shiba Lin Zhao is a avid fan of furs. She collects them and she values them quite a bit. She's a little materialistic, so she wants you to bag the best animal that you can find to impress her with the game that you've managed to collect. That's going to be a TN2 survival. She wants you to be clever about your choices and choose wisely, so she wants you to use air. All right, so going over it, let's talk to Itagawa. You have 2 successes there. Tell me, what is your catch that you are able to find?
Maybe a winter fox. Would that make sense?
Yeah. So you find like a silvery winter fox, and she's favoring yours most of all, until Shinjo Altanasari comes in, and she has a large buck that she has brought down. And there's something unnaturally beautiful about the buck. It's in perfect health. It's a pristine animal, and the hair that, or the fur coat that it has, is immaculate. And it's something about this buck that manages to catch her eye. And she chooses Shinjo Altanasari as the victor for this one. The last round is duels. These are warrior duels to first blood, so you can choose whatever weapons you want to bring. How this is going to work, though, it's simply a TN2 martial arts melee. Since none of you are Shugenja, I'm not going to tell you what the Shugenja thing is, but there are Shugenja dueling for points as well. Tonbo Kou will attempt to participate in this one and then get told that she is far too injured to risk her health and her well-being in a duel. You know that when Shugenja duel, they tend to basically conjure up elemental avatars of themselves, and they have giant avatar battles, which can get super dangerous for everybody who's even watching. Without really any real competition there, Shibbolin Zhao actually takes the Shugenja side of things.
What is the preferred ring again? Sorry.
The preferred ring is going to be Earth. This is judged by Mia Kiyade. Oh, Jesus. Okay.
Dude, I've invested a lot of points into martial arts melee, baby.
Like, I'm taking this. I love that you went for the crushing victory rather than the technical victory, too.
Dude, the lion are strong.
Itagawa, are you participating in this one? Okay, cool.
Yes, sir.
And for Ikoma. Cool, okay.
Yep. And I would like to use well, I'll ask first, just in case. One of the Earth advantages is to act carefully to minimize consequences that could arise from the task. I'd basically like to know that it's first blood and cause the least amount of damage, unless that would be socially frowned upon.
No, it would actually show that you have a lot of skill. Essentially, what you've done is, like, first blood is usually like an actual strike. You have gone in and taken advantage of an opening, and instead of like hitting them hard, you've just barely cut them. It's enough.
That's what I would like to do then.
Victory, but it shows technical acumen.
I'm using both advantages to do this in a doubly flashy way. Like you cut them and they don't even realize it, and then.
Okay. Yeah, you are able to take this match. However, you didn't get full points because you used fire, so you'll take 2 points here for this one. Let me do some quick numbers, and then I'll compare you against the NPCs, and we'll figure out who wins. Let's see, 2, 4, 6. It's 10. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 14. And 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and 14. Oh. So, how'd you guys like to learn about the duel rules?
Oh, God.
It's a tie.
Really?
Yep.
Between who?
Akodo and Ikoma.
Wait, Ikoma Hideki?
Collecting 2 points at a time for pretty much every round.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's tied 14 and 14. Now, alternatively, one of you could simply recognize the one who has the most honor and say that they're the winner. It will gain you honor for doing so. But that would be considered like socially what is expected of a tie. However, the rule is that you guys could do a duel against each other, and we can break out the duel rules. It would be to first blood.
What do you want to do, Hideki?
So my honor is like almost assuredly less than his.
Yeah, I've got 60 honor. Like, I'm pretty much maxed out on honor.
43 or something around there. And I really want to do it, but I also know that I would get my ass kicked.
I mean, the bright side is you will gain honor by the victory over to him. Basically,
yeah,
thinking that he should be the winner.
I just started investing in meditation too, so I'm actually a pretty good duelist.
So I think I think I will defer a victory, but what I'll do is like in addition to like the public display of like yes, I will acknowledge this honorable daimyo in training as the victor of the competition. I'll also make a moment to kind of like give a nod to Takeo, not like in private, but kind of in the quiet of it all. To
really clever.
Kind of
establishes your loyalty too.
Yeah, exactly. It's basically say like, remember that conversation we had about how good of friends we are? We are friends, and I have your back. And here's the first act of our friendship and your great position as daimyo is to give this over to you. Kind of with that being the subtext.
You suck.
He won't officially say any of that, but I'll kind of make that in make it so that you would be able to see.
Okay. Akodo, you won one of the matches during this set that we rolled out, so you're going to get +3 glory right away.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And then you will gain 10 glory.
Holy, okay. I'm at 78 now.
Okay. Or sorry, not 10 glory. You will gain 10 honor.
Oh, 10 honor. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
that was my fault.
Hey, I'm at 70 honor.
Wait, sorry, I forgot they did change things. I did mean glory. Glory is correct in this case. Because honor is your internal scale of how you follow Bushido. Glory is how people recognize you.
So I'm at 78 now, so
okay,
whatever that means.
That puts you pretty high up on the scale. I'll have to double check, but you're going to get like a quality or an advantage for having a high glory, I think, if I remember right.
Okay.
All right. With that said, we have just enough time that we can do the scene with the Emperor. And then we can talk about a little bit of the rest of how Winter Court goes. The Emperor pulls you aside into the room that's been prepared for him. You're given an audience. You were asked to not wear any weapons on you, to come in ceremonial robes, that you would be checked by Emerald Magistrates, and then by the Emerald Champion himself. And then you'll be granted an audience with the Emperor, who kind of whispers to you as you enter. Akodo Takeo, congratulations on winning this tournament. As promised, you will have whatever it is that you request. What do you ask from the Emperor?
I can ask anything.
Anything.
Ooh.
This is like the closest I can get to giving you a wish spell in this setting.
Ooh. Takeo looks down, thinking. Am I allowed to ask for peace? Like between clans? Like for something to be enforced like that?
Yes, you absolutely can. Essentially, it would mean that the Emperor is going to force peace between the two clans if you ask for it.
Between the two clans? So I can only...
Well, you would have to be a little bit specific. Like, well, actually, I take that back. If you ask for peace, he would basically make it against Imperial law to go to war, period, with anyone for a year. If you ask for peace between two clans, he will send Imperial families to go negotiate treaties and force a peace between the two families, which would be more permanent.
Yeah, I would look down, and I think I'd remember what Shinjo said to me, like perhaps we can work something out. And I think back about all like the underhanded deals that my father tried to make against her, and like all the things that have essentially happened between the lion and the unicorn, and how tight tensions are right now, and how it all could just be water under the bridge. And I would look at him and I'd say, I request peace between the unicorn and lion clans.
He nods and he says, I will send the imperial families to negotiate peace between the two clans. I will guarantee that this issue is resolved, but to continue for peace, you must use wisdom and deference when speaking with the unicorn in the future.
And I would bow my head respectfully to him and say, it has always been the Lions Clan way to serve with honor. I shall continue to do so.
The Emperor will leave the room with you, and he goes out to the courtroom, and he speaks to the crowd again, who's dead silent, head on the floor, the whole shebang again. It is our champion's wish that there be peace between the unicorn and the lion. I will send out my family to facilitate the dealings. I will find a way so that everyone can be appreciative of the peace that has been extended here. Congratulate your Winter Court champion, Akodo Takeo. And there's like a little bit of clapping. He retreats for the evening, and you guys are free to go about your business. There has been some changes in court that have happened. Nahid, rather. Moto Nahid has gone missing from court. She left after the horsemanship event where she too fell, and she was injured. If you ask around, she was sorry, her family was trying to move her back to Unicorn Lands because of her injuries, which is ill-advised in winter. I should point that out.
I would approach Shinjo, by the way, after this is all declared, instead. So I'd walk directly up to her, and I would kind of make eye contact, like look at her like directly, and I bow my head to her, and I would say, I am sorry for the wrongs which have been done to you. I hope that perhaps we can establish a more firm peace between our clans in the future, one that does not need to be enforced by the imperial family.
She looks at you with admiration that you would use the request of the Emperor to find peace between the two clans, and she bows slightly deeper to you, and she casts her eyes downward respectfully. And she says, I look forward to going to the negotiating table with you in the spring. It has been a fine winter, and I have enjoyed my time here at Akodo Shiro. Perhaps next winter you can join me at my court.
It would be my honor. And I would bow my head again to her, and I would ask her if there's any way that we could perhaps meet and discuss things privately in the coming days.
Of course.
Do I get the sense now that there is a level of trust here now?
Yeah, she seems trusting of you.
Okay. All right. Well, when we meet, I am going to let her go through my father's book and see that maybe he wasn't willing to make an action or do anything to stop what is about to happen or what might happen to her, but that I am.
Okay. Let's do that in a little bit.
Okay.
Ooh, that's going to drastically change things. I think that's how we're going to close this session, actually. Let's touch on the other two before I get to what happens when she starts reading that book. Do you guys have anything that you would like to pursue before Winter Court is basically over? Because after this session, we'll be moving into spring. I hope to resolve everything during winter here.
I'd probably like to, if appropriate, maybe go through a walk in the gardens with Tombo, preferably without a boon, or is it a boon?
Yeah, you'd be able to dodge him.
Or if he's there, maybe just like
No,
some
he's
space.
gone. Yeah, he's gone. Jeff, you would have seen Tombo Aboon leaving the castle. Or rather, not that you saw him leaving. You were going through historical records that other people were turning into you, and you noticed a detail of that it didn't name him as Tombo Aboon, but like you were able to piece together that he has left the castle.
Interesting.
So
Time being, I would
stroll
keep that
through the
to
garden,
myself, yeah.
uninhibited.
Perfect. So I basically just open up with that she performed admirably well at the Winter Court, especially her riddle. It took me much longer. Seems like you're a natural at these kind of things. And just basically small talk for a while, but then I would mention that I've really enjoyed kind of being able to study under you, and it's probably very much studying, even like I am now, where he doesn't really know how to get to where he wants to go, but eventually he just blurts out like, so what are you doing after Winter Court? Like, where are you going, kind of thing.
She kind of smiles and she says, well, it appears that Takeo is taking care of my needs inside the Unicorn Clan. So I suppose I'll have to return home. I don't really have a purpose here any longer, but I'll have to speak with my mother. She may request me to stay longer, but as far as I'm aware, I am to return to my lord and find out what my next assignment is.
Nods, trying to contain himself. He would actually probably for the first time in a while around here take off his mempo, revealing his true face, and just say that he's completed his dad's assignment, and now he's probably going to be tasked to be a Yojimbo of a Shugenja like he's always wanted. And then he just kind of blurts out that he wishes that Shugenju was you, Tombo-chan.
She kind of smiles at it playfully, like she thinks you're joking a little bit. And she says, I'm sure that Abun would not approve of such ideals, but I'm sure whoever you protect will stay safe. Perhaps if it is a Shugenja of some name in need of a diviner, you can send them my direction.
He nods.
There's kind of this quiet moment where you can tell that she's started to develop feelings for you, but she's in this gray area where she can't really act upon them because she's expecting to be politically married off at some point, and so to engage in feelings would be inappropriate. And she's become aware of your own feelings, so there's kind of like this awkward half smiling through the garden as you walk. And she says, finally, you know, I'm sure I can speak with my mother, and in these times, I'm sure the lion need a diviner. Maybe I can stay a little longer.
He would nod, and maybe my father would assign me with a Shugenja in this area. Does that make sense, Chris? That like I could ask to be like around here?
Yeah, you could always make a request from your father.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure that a boon. I'm not even sure. I know for a fact that a boon is a good Yojimbo, and he would never let anything happen to you. But I'd very much like to not part ways just yet. I feel like our fates and whatever the spirits have in store for us haven't ended our story yet, Tombo. And I would grab her hand.
She blushes, and like every so often you get this glimpse of who she actually is underneath this persona that she puts on, and she's there again. You've seen it before, only right before confronting the collector directly when she spoke about peace. And she pulls her hand back just a little bit, but she doesn't like break the grip that you have on her. She says, we should exchange letters. And I think that's where that's going to close.
Yep.
For anybody who's new to L5R, that's basically her saying we should exchange numbers and text like teenagers forever. For Jeff, you had something that you wanted to do? No, that is not friend zone. That is moving on to romantic entanglements.
Yeah, so the first step would just be to like send message to the Scorpion through my channels that I would have, basically of that Takeo's gift from the Emperor is going to like radically change how we can and need to approach the coming moments. And basically, like, I don't know how appropriate it would be for a Scorpion to like ask for advice from other Scorpion in the matter, but if it were acceptable to do so, he would definitely kind of
in these
send out, especially to his teacher, of like, things have gone off the rails. This has like radically altered the landscape. What's the higher ups game plan, so that I can help execute it?
Yeah, this is definitely appropriate because things are changing drastically. You know that Shosuro Kuzan is moving. He's too occupied right now to give you direct advice. He is acting out his own orders at the moment.
Yes.
We'll get back to your letter in spring because that's when you'll get a response.
I guess the only other thing in the meantime, I definitely would like to start digging into as much historical record as I can put my eyes to, especially about these mystical items that I've been made aware of. But even just anything further I can find out about the Akodo clan and their dealings.
Perfect. What I'd like you to do in the interim between our games is, let me just make sure I'm looking at it correctly here. You can give me a culture check inside our Facebook group.
Okay.
Using whatever approach you want to tell me about like how you're going through the archives and that stuff, and that will determine like what information you're able to fish out from the archives. Because you're at an advantage during Winter Court. You have pretty much free reign access to the Ikoma archives right now. For Shinjo Altanasari inside the office, you're just going to give her the book and say, hey, here you go, read through it?
No, it would obviously be more delicate than that.
Uh-huh.
I think I'd probably open up with something like, it's been a day of changes, essentially. Like, a lot has changed, like, over the course. And I imagine that, like, we didn't do all the games in one day, like we were basically doing just right now. Like, it was over the course of, like how many, like a month, 2 months?
About 3 months is kind of the course of what Winter Court is.
Yeah, so I basically say like over the course of these 3 months, a lot has changed, and I'm kind of like starting to figure things out. Like I'm just like kind of like giving you the rundown of what I'd kind of like be explaining. When I was first put in, or when I first became a daimyo in training, I was made aware of information that I believe is important to you. I have no desires to see your wealth or land or name stripped from you. I have no desire to see anything but peace between our clans. But I believe that you are the victim of a terrible plot.
She just kind of listens and waits for you to elaborate.
I believe that today I have proven, and this is not some power play, I do desire peace, but I believe today that I have proven to you that I wish for nothing but friendship between us. I became aware of this plot through my father's own writings and his own investigations. He had no desire to act on them, but I do.
She kind of pages through the documents that you presented her, and she says, if there is any truth to this matter, then I must speak with Moto Kaiketsu, it seems.
I would slowly nod and say, if you will, then the lion will aid you in any way that you see fit or necessary.
No, tensions are too tight right now. I can't have the lion be involved in this matter. If he's on to me, then he will challenge me to become the new Khan. It's the only way that he can save face. Much the way that your father attempted to duel to cover his own tracks. She says it like super frank now, just because like how the conversation has been going.
This is a moment for frankness, yes.
Yeah.
I would encourage you that should this duel come, and I would kind of slowly, to show that I'm laying all my cards out here, turn to the page that describes the war gear of dark ambition. I would seek out your aid in finding and destroying these items. I believe that the time has passed for secrecy.
She nods and she says,
Ketsu obviously has the armor, too. I'd point that out.
She nods and she says, I have noticed his demeanor change. He's become more pointed, aggressive. I will provide aid in any way that I can, but it will have to be smaller. I won't be able to dedicate an entire army of unicorn soldiers, of course, but perhaps a unit of them to seek out some of this. I'll go through my men, find those that I trust. And when I think that they are ready to receive the information, I will send them to you.
You do not need to send a full unit if you cannot spare just 1 or 2 people you trust to aid in the search, but...
She smiles and she says, unicorn travel in smaller units. 1 or 2 to even 4 make up in a unit on average.
And I would kind of nod at this, kind of smiling, embarrassed at like my own lack of knowledge of this specifically. And I would look at her.
They bring with them horses. Our heavy cavalry units move faster, so smaller units are easier to manage on the fields.
I would nod. And Senzo never found the sword, right?
No, you report back that Senzo says that the swords have gone missing.
Okay.
He'll give you a list of people that have also gone missing during Winter Court, but it's hard to pin it down. There's a couple of names that stand out to you. Tonbo Kou.
I send out trusted individuals to follow these people or find them. But I would say there is also a strong chance that Kaiketsu has wisdom.
Mm-hmm. So you dispatch out your agents of the house, people that Senso trusts really, because they're his agents at this point. Senso is kind of letting you more or less run the show. However, he is regent, so technically whenever you go to do something, you run it by him and he goes, okay, good job, and sends those people.
I would assume we've had discussions about what his sin is too, or whatever has happened.
Yeah, you find out that what he believes to be his crime is that he did not question his lord when he saw his lord do dishonorable things that were out of the norm. That he willingly participated in these actions, and that he was fully aware that the collector was sent to kill you.
Okay.
You also find out that he feels guilty because he's the one that stole the sea sword from your father and had it sent to you.
Yeah. Okay. Knowing all that, I very easily and readily forgive him, knowing that he's been faithful to the house and honorable as well. But anyways,
he would still deserve some sort of penal punishment. So, like, he probably would get lashed. That would be appropriate.
Okay.
Or you could brand him as a criminal.
Yeah, that seems pretty intense. I don't think I'd do that.
Yeah. Both would be the appropriate way to punish him. Lashing it would actually suck because it's a winter. He'd be tied to a post, lashed for probably several days at like 20 lashes a piece, and left out in snow for about a week.
Oof.
So it's going to be a really terrible time for him.
But I mean, I'm sure he wants to bear this.
Yeah, he's insistent that he be punished within accordance with the laws.
Well, that would happen, but I would make sure I was there every single day visiting him. But anyways, so Shinjo believes me then.
Yes, she does. She's had her own doubts about him for a while.
Okay. Well, I would just, like I said, I would make sure that she knows that I wish to be friends in this. I don't want to be enemies, and that I've already apologized essentially for what my father and what the other lion have tried to do. But things are going to be different now, essentially.
She nods and she says, "In that case, I will see you in spring." And the camera fades out and it comes back in, and we get spring Rokugan as our little subtitle here. We can see that there is unicorn forces lined up on top of a hill with their steeds, and a bunch of lion defenses and an imperial legion assisting the lion. Moto Kaiketsu has taken over as the Khan of the unicorn forces. Shinjo Altanasari has gone missing. She proved to be actually a great asset. She gave you a lot of information to help you out in the coming battle. But starting next week, we'll be engaging in the war rules. So I do encourage the players to brush up on those. We're going to start at the battle lines. I'm going to give you guys some stuff inside the chat, which will kind of set up how the battle's going to be at the start of it, and then we'll go through it. It kind of works similar to the momentum stuff that we did before, but the goal is going to be doing stuff like capturing strategic points, cutting off routes of resupply, and things like that. So I will work up some stuff over the next 2 weeks, and then we'll get together and we'll be playing the spring campaign. So 2 sessions, and it's all over for this one. And
basically,
now this campaign is coming from. We're gonna have some unicorn working for Takeo.
So basically, I secured the Imperial aid when Kaiketsu broke the treaty, but I didn't stop the war. Dang it! Okay, I did everything I could.
You did everything you could. He's a magically possessed madman. So
okay, fair enough. Dude, dang it! I wanted Altanasari as an ally.
You have her. She's in hiding. You just don't know where she is. You know for a
Oh.
fact she's not dead, at least.
Okay, because I'm receiving communication still, basically.
All right. So for everybody that did tune in and has been watching, thank you very much. Hopefully you enjoyed it as much as I did, because there was a lot of stuff that happened in here that's going to set up the last 2 sessions here and future campaigns with this same storyline. We're going to do a couple mini campaigns that follow the story of the cursed dark war gear of ambition and acquiring it to be destroyed. That'll probably be my next year of gaming on Drop Dice. So if you like L5R, that's what's coming your way. For anybody who hasn't been paying attention to the channel, I also started posting picture or videos with each part of the 20 questions, building a crab bushi for anybody who wants to learn how to play the game. They are shorter videos, more direct, not like my big rambly one where I made a character and talked about my feelings about the stuff. So definitely check that stuff out. Another video will come out tomorrow where I go over part 5 of the 20 questions and go through each section and kind of build what would be a good basic first character for anybody who's new to L5R. After I finish with the Bushi, I'm going to go through each role that's available to characters to choose and talk about what the differences are between like a Bushi and a Shugenja, Bushi and a Shinobi, and kind of where you would change the 20 questions and what would be more in line with those expectations. As always, guys, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you at the gaming table.